since mid-September, we have been sending people over to Iraq as part of the Iraq peace team. And that's really just a continuation of the work that Voices in the Wilderness has been doing since 1996, continuing the witness that was started by the many people who have gone to see firsthand the effects of both military bombardment and economic warfare through the economic embargo. In the course of the last couple months, we've been able to put up a new website, the Iraq Peace Team website, where you can read the diaries and now see many of the photos and some of the video footage that's come out from the team. We are now known throughout the world, I would say, and people understanding that this is a place where you can come to really hear a lot of the truth that the majority of mainstream news corporations are not going to be talking about. You know, going not just to film the fighter jets dropping the Boeing-made missiles, but then going on the ground and seeing what the effect of those missiles are. Most of you probably know that we have Boeing World Headquarters in Chicago. And, you know, it was last year when Boeing first came to Chicago that we started to just have regular vigils there and just once a week be going out and handing out flyers, et cetera. And, you know, one day we had an all-out 6-hour drum marathon outside of Boeing, and I'm sure that they heard it on the top floor because we had a full percussion set. One of the first actions that took place there a few weeks ago was on Ash Wednesday, where Heidi Holliday, Ceylon, and Amy Mooney, 3 people who work in the Voices office, went down in the morning to Boeing, and they went taking pictures of some of the bombing victims of Jumeirah, a very poor neighborhood in Basra in southern Iraq. The group took those photos into Boeing, and they also took bags of ashes. And they came in and they read a liturgy, and then they poured the ashes over the pictures, and they covered themselves in ashes and waited and were eventually arrested. That got a lot of press. It was clear the press is hungry to cover, you know, more of the dramatic kinds of actions that happen, you know, with arrest and all of that. Now, of all times, is the time to say no business as usual. We're going to stop this process in some way. And through the creativity and whatnot, we decided to do an actual physical lockdown in Boeing. And when I say that, I mean we got PVC pipes, and with the help of a good friend in Chicago, a carpenter who supports the work very much and had been with Voices for quite a long time, we were able to make the instruments we needed to physically lock ourselves together. And 9 of us did that. We were a circle of life inside Boeing. We arrived early last Thursday morning. Security guards completely caught off guard. And we were able to lock up before they could do anything. And of course, they are not able to touch us, so that made our job a little easier. And we were able to block the escalator for quite some time and keep employees from taking the lazy person's way up. They had to go up the stairs until the police came, and they eventually physically moved us over so that the escalators would be up and running again. But we were able to stay there for 2.5 hours, and I think really the most amazing part of that action was we were able to speak, each of us, about what brought us there that day. And we had onlookers up on the second balcony of the lobby listening. Our lawyer feels that we can really make a case, that there is a provision within Illinois law that says criminal trespass is justified if you're trying to prevent a greater evil. We certainly have a case. We hope to push for a jury trial. This isn't a time, I think, when dissent will just be squashed because people will be afraid to speak up. You know, just in Chicago on Thursday, there were between 10 and 15,000 people who took over Lakeshore Drive. And the only thing the cops could do was detain a lot of them. They held 800 people overnight, and that didn't keep 60 people the next day from coming and locking down at the federal building and doing CD there. Luckily, we've still been able to communicate with the team in Baghdad, which is something we weren't expecting this far into it. This is from Kathy. This is yesterday morning. It is almost impossible for me to imagine that bombings to the extent of what I heard here last night and the previous morning, if they happened in Chicago, would result in people carrying on with ordinary days. Part of it is people having been inured to warfare, and it's also a sign of a really particular kind of courage and dignity within the population here. It's really very, very amazing to me. I really think it is not overstating the case, because we are hearing this kind of news from all over the world, that we are approaching what would be near critical mass for stopping war makers. I hope with all my heart that the Bush administration doesn't go ahead with this shock and awe. I think that if they don't do it, there probably will be more of a tapering off. If they do it, I think that the momentum is going to be very steady, and every long day everybody puts in, it can be worth it now for a long, long time.
Getting to know these people, getting to know all of the people who work in the hotel that we were at. I was staying at the Alphanar Hotel, and just every day that I was there, having the continuous thought that 2, 3, 4 weeks, all of that's going to be obliterated. You know, how many of those people I was meeting were going to be dead, severely maimed, whatever the case may be. Watching Peter Arnett's reporting, and as he panned the very limited amount of space that he could pan, seeing the Alphanar Hotel, and just really wondering what's going to happen to the Alphanar, and being able to see from the outside anyhow the room that I was staying in when I was in Baghdad at the Alphanar, and wondering who were in those rooms, who were in the rooms with the lights on, what was happening with the people in that hotel. Take a look at the people across the street from you. Those are the Iraqi people. Those are the people who we are aiming to kill in this war, and who our government is aiming to kill in this war. They basically, people of Iraq are the same as people of our country. They basically want a decent school for their kids, decent health care, a decent job, a decent house to live in, and they want their kids to have it a little bit better than they had it. I've taken to talking about hope in Baghdad, hope in Iraq at this time as being hope that the war goes down the next street and doesn't go through a person's living room. I mean, if there's one institution that the people of Iraq may care less for than Saddam Hussein because of his brutal regime, it's the regime of the United States. And what I always say to people is, look, Saddam Hussein's been in power for 25 years, brutal dictatorship through that entire time, but prior to the Gulf War, they had the best educational system, the best healthcare system in the region. After the Gulf War and the impact of the sanctions, all of that totally destroyed. Civil engineers working as drivers to make a living. And that's what half of the people of Iraq know as their lives, the half of the people of Iraq who are under 15 years of age. All they know is the sanctions.